For these reasons, during the sleep state, resistance slows way down. So you're at your least resistant state when you first awaken. That's a tremendous advantage, because the whole point of meditation is to release resistance. And so if you start at your least resistant state and then you focus on your breathing, you'll get into that state of receptiveness, but you won't be tired and wanting to go to sleep. You'll be awake and ready to receive. Feel the difference? You're doing extremely well, and your meditation is not ineffective. We don't mean that, but you're asking us, and so that would be a really big difference to you.
And I don't want to put it on a timeline or like feel like this isn't working, but like I know from the story
you don't have to do that. You don't have to put it on a timeline, because this is what's happening. Your inner being will meet you anytime, anywhere, about anything. We're not on a schedule, but your resistance has ebbs and flows, and there are times that you are less resistant than others, and so let yourself be on that kind of schedule. When am I in my most receptive mode? Because you see, you're taking meditation into what we consider to be the greatest purpose of it. When you release resistance, your vibration will rise, and when your vibration rises, there's a blending between you and you, and when there's a blending between you and you, you are then and only then your wholest of whole selves. That's really what you're reaching for. And so the insight you're looking for, the answers to the questions you're looking for, all the things that you said and that we can feel you're looking for are there. Some might say it's just keeping the odds up. Others might say it's just logical. We would say all of that. We're not asking you to look for a time schedule. We're asking you to look for a path of least resistance schedule. And we know for sure the path of least resistance schedule is at the beginning of the day, not at the end of the day. And it can be whenever you want it to be. We're not asking you to set an alarm and meet us somewhere. We'll be there.
I didn't mean like more evening. I meant like in terms of development or seeing progress or seeing something happen or hearing stuff. I've been doing this for 8 months. How can I know?
What do you mean then? What do you mean when you say I don't want to be on a schedule?
Well, because I've heard your story before. You said it took you 9 months before you heard Abraham. So I'm thinking, well, I'm at 8 months, but I don't want to put like a timeline on it. So how can I judge my progress or feel like I'm doing this? Because
you can't
so
compare
far,
yourself to Esther, because she was meditating every morning. So if you want to use that comparison, you're at no months.
Okay, all right.
But don't use that comparison. Your desire is strong, hers was not. What anybody else is doing doesn't have anything to do with what you're doing. It's just the gap between what you desire and where you are. And we want to soothe you with every word. We don't want to scold you or adjust you or change you. In other words, everything that we're offering you is just simple response to the question you ask. How can I be more effective at this really important, good feeling thing that I desire? How can I be more of who I am more of the time? And so this being the receiver of your inner being, some people call it channeling. We call it inspiration. Some call it intuition. Basketball players call it being in the zone. Athletes often call it that. There is so much blending that is evidenced. And humans, when you see someone who has practiced that blending for some time, you usually see masters at their craft, because the more blended they have been, then the more inspired they have been to the path of lesser and lesser resistance, or more and more allowance to whatever it is that they are wanting. But it's really an individual journey. You're not in competition with anyone.
Okay. And I guess I probably already know the answers, but how can I see, what signs can I look at and look for development or progress or things like that?
Is there a science of emotional awareness?
Probably not when I'm falling asleep. But yeah.
Is there a science of vibrational frequencies? Is there a science of vibrational compatibility? Oh yes, everything on your planet is like that. That tuning my radio dial, setting my receiver at the same frequency as the broadcaster. It's that science. It's the science of frequency. But in physical human terms, you wouldn't call it so much a science as you would call it an emotional awareness. And so your emotional awareness will teach you the science, because when it feels really good, you're really tuned in. When it doesn't feel so good, you're not so tuned in.
And I have one other question, if I can. So I teach a class at a university. I teach algebra, and I really love it, and I love teaching my students, and I think that...
Why?
Because when I'm up doing lectures or when I'm working with them one-on-one and I'm explaining math, I feel like I really can explain it well, and I can see where they are and what parts they are missing, and I can like fill in that
so
gap.
You can imagine how your inner being feels about you, because it is identical.
What?
In other words, what you just described is what it's like for us. And these are the things that we want to point out to you. The reason that you like this mathematical experience is because the laws are solid and unequivocal, and they always test out no matter what. There's no variance from the perfect results. Is that right?
Part of it, yeah. There's also a lot of creativity in developing new theorems and all of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sort of like life. But what we're getting at is, as you teach the basics and you have the thrilling experience of watching your students discover them and apply them and get the results from them, standing in more and more confident places of asking for more and more applications of the laws of mathematics. Yeah.
That's really good.
Some really, really good bridges in that for humanity. As you take those mathematical laws and you speak with confidence your understanding of their stability and their unwavering beingness, and then you're able to awaken within someone else that knowledge, and then they are able to feel the power of what that knowledge can then bring to them in the application of it. There's a whole lot about law of attraction that's in that, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that until you said it just now. So how can I reconcile my love for teaching students and seeing those aha moments with the fact that I have to give them exams and grade them and then like mark things wrong?
Look at it this way. Your inner being knows where you are vibrationally in relationship to everything you want, and calls you accordingly. In other words, your inner being knows what your path of least resistance is, and so knows where to call you. Often you don't know that, and that's when we say to you, it's good for you to be emotionally aware so that you can own where you are. If you're pretending that you are somewhere that you aren't, then you can't acknowledge any movement, not any real movement, and there's no satisfaction in it either. So there's nothing in the world off about knowing where you are in relationship to where you want to be. Just don't put the emphasis on where you are. Instead, let it be about where you're going. And you can do that with what you write around the grade or with the comments that you make once you are grading something. You can acknowledge, I can see real progress here. I can see that you grasped this. This will serve you really well. You're really on the right track here. I'm really pleased with what I see. More is going to open up to you. This is the way this always works. At first it's more difficult to see each thing that makes sense to you. Then the next things get easier and easier and easier and easier. There isn't anything wrong with understanding where you are. In fact, it is essential, because you are where you are, where you are, where you are on your way to where you want to be. Now, some of them, they're just there fulfilling requirements. Some of them don't have any passion for that, but you could help them to develop some passion in that as you start making the correlations between these laws of mathematics and the laws of the universe as you are understanding them to be, the consistency of them. We like to say there's not a shred of evidence to the contrary of what we teach. We'd like you to say that too. There's not a shred of evidence to the contrary of what's going on here in this classroom. A grasping of this is going to set you up for a successful life in all of these ways. First of all, it's going to draw focus from you. Next of all, the focus, once you get it, is going to feel really, really good to you. This is an exercise in empowerment. The application of what you will learn here will be varied with all of you, but it will be beneficial in every single case. You're going to like what you grasp here and how you apply it. And I'm going to revel in every step forward that you make. It's going to be a really fun experience for you and for them. You could say to them, I've learned not just from mathematics, but from mathematics, but I've learned through my life experience that my personal satisfaction really comes from having a desire and moving toward it. And when you're looking for a solution, which is a desire, and then you find a process where no matter what, you can move toward it, you're going to find such satisfaction in grasping this. And I would like you to know, you can say to your students, that nerdy as this sounds, and unwilling as many people are to accept this from me, your satisfaction is my satisfaction. I don't have some standard, it looks like it, that I'm wanting you to all accomplish, because you are all very different. You learn differently, you want differently, you grasp differently. It's your motion forward that I'm excited about.